The Committee of Adjustments, it's November 16th at 6:31 hours or 18:31 for those like the other clock. And before we start our meeting, I'll have our Secretary Treasurer read the opening statement.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the town of Innisfil acknowledges that Innisfil is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history. The town also acknowledges that this land is the traditional territories of the first people of Turtle Island. It is shared between the Anishinaabe peoples of Beausoleil First Nation, Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and Chippewa of Georgina Island First Nation, and we thank them for generations of stewardship. This meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people, and as settlers, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. The town acknowledges the forced sacrifices that are the foundation of Canadian society today. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Welcome to the Committee of Adjustments hybrid meeting where we are meeting in person at the Town Hall and offering the members of the public or applicants who are unable to attend in person to utilize Zoom or telephone to become before the committee. And just noting tonight that one of our committee members is via Zoom tonight with us. Members in attendance tonight is Marnie Adams to my left, John Raimondi to my right, Bill Van Berkel on Zoom, and myself, Rod Hicks, as the chairperson. We ask that everyone attending tonight's meeting put their electronic devices on silent. The committee will follow the agenda as noted. To view the agenda, please visit the town's website and the Committee of Adjustments page. There you'll be able to see the current and previous applications. All applicants and members of the public who wish to address the committee via phone or Zoom will be placed on mute until called upon. You will be able to hear all conversations taking place. For applicants and members of the public attending in person or via phone Zoom and wish to speak to a specific application, will be called to the podium by the chair in order of the agenda and proceedings. All comments will be addressed to the chairperson. We would ask that members of the public who wish to speak to a specific application restrict their comments to the specific details of the application being heard and have not been previously expressed by another member of the public. Once the public discussion is complete, the committee will close that portion and open the discussions with the applicant. Once complete, the committee will render a decision. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Marnie, second it. John, all in favor? And where's Bill? Bill's there too? I can't see Bill.
I'm here.
There you go. Thank you. All in favor? It's moved. Thank you. Motion to approve past minutes of the meetings.
I make the motion.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Marnie. Thank you. All in favor? We're moved. Thank you. Does any member have like to disclose a pecuniary interest on any of the applications before us? I see none. Bill? No? Okay, thank you. Mr. Secretary, how is notice provided for the applicants before us?
Through you, Mr. Chair, in compliance with Ontario regulations, the notice of hearing was circulated to property owners within a 60-meter radius of the subject properties, and signs were posted on the subject properties on or before November 2nd, 2023. In addition, all application information, including the notice, key map, and application drawings were made available on the town website.
Excellent, thank you. First application on the agenda tonight. And there's a number of applications for this one property. It is B018223, A046, A047, A048, A049, 2023, known as 3967 Algonquin Avenue. Do we have Peter McGill with us tonight? Welcome to the podium. You've been here before, haven't you?
A couple of months ago, it was deferred.
Provide
some more information.
Right. Okay, Mr. Secretary, can you read the application and any comments?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the applicant is proposing to sever a portion of the lot for the purpose of creating a new residential lot. The severed and retained lands will have deficient lot coverages and frontage. Planning recommends approval with conditions. Building has comments and conditions. Engineering has comments. InPower have comments. In-services have no comments.
Thank you. Dave, can we put that up on the screen? I've got a black screen here. There we go. Are you in receipt of all the comments?
I am
Okay.
in agreement.
Do you have a presentation for us tonight?
Just a brief PowerPoint, if you, committee would like to hear it. It's
Sure, if
fine.
you want to go ahead.
Sure. So our proposal is to sever an existing 100-foot lot at the corner of Algonquin and Lakeside. The lot, the key thing with our lot, my wife and I have owned it for quite some time, many years, going back about 25 years. The lot originally was two 50-foot lots up until 1968. And we are basically asking the committee to grant us the approval to reestablish the two 50-foot lots that were in existence since 1912 through to 1968. The history there is, Tomasz, if you go to the next slide, that's the plan of subdivision that shows the two lots, they're highlighted in blue as two 50-foot lots. And they existed from 1912 to 1968. And in the town's wisdom in 1968, through a deeming bylaw, those lots were amalgamated as one. We've never been able to find out why that was done, but it was done. So it became a 100-foot lot. So we, through time, we're assuming that maybe it was through septic reasons or something like that in the town's wisdom. We're not sure. But in today's world, in 2023, those issues, if that wasn't the case, those septic issues can be resolved. So it was our desire to put them back as two 50-foot lots. If we can go a bit further, thank you. That's the deeming bylaw that we found on title, just to show that it was the town did change it to 100-foot lot from 250s. Again, too much. We can go on a bit more. So the lot that we're trying, that's existing. What we're seeing there is what exists today, and what's existed there for how long, I don't know. 60, how, I don't know. The bungalow's been there forever and the shed's been there forever. Our plan is to separate them into 250s, and in doing so, we're deficient in variances in lot frontage, in lot area, I guess. And that's what the variances are for. A bit further, Tomasz, if we can. So our staff wanted to see from our September meeting, the reason why it was deferred, they wanted to see this plan to make sure that a tertiary septic system could fit on this lot without a problem. And we've been able, through engineering, we've been able to prove that this can be readily done. The key thing here as well, I think, in terms of streetscape, through our research, we found that there's actually 34 adjacent 50-foot lots between Alsina, Algonquin, and Alberta Avenue and Big Bay Point. Some of those lots are currently under construction on an as-of-right basis. They're non-conforming, grandfathered in. So what we're doing is, we actually honestly don't know, my wife and I, what we're going to do with this. We just know that it needs to be separated. We don't know if we're going to build something, if it's going to be a vacant lot, if we're going to build something for our kids. We're not exactly sure. We wanted to get the approval from committee before we move to that next step. The next slide, and the last one I've got there, I believe. There is a precedent, not that a precedent is binding at all, but the committee in its wisdom as well, back in 2019, found a similar, approved another property on Limerick Street that was previously 250s, amalgamated by the town, and was provided consent. And lastly, these are two 50-foot lots that are currently under construction, one on Big Bay Point Road and one on Alsina. Both of those properties are using a new septic system, tertiary, something that we would do as well. So that's what I have to say, and lastly, I should say, I did speak to the neighbors because we have known them for years. And there's not anything but positive comments. There's nothing that's untoward about any comments from the neighbors at all.
Moderator, I don't believe we have anybody speaking for or against us tonight.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. So you're in receipt of the latest comments from the town regarding it? I have one question for you. I've been there a few times now. Where's the shed that it says there's a shed there? Is it behind your boats?
It's behind my boats.
Oh, because I look and I go, where's the shed? I don't see the shed.
Yeah.
Okay. Committee members, do you have any questions of the applicant? No? Bill has one? There you are, Bill, sorry.
No, just a comment. The town did amalgamate these lots way back. I know I went through the same fight for a 100-foot lot that I had, my wife and I bought, and because it was in one name, they amalgamated in their infinite wisdom. The technology for septic systems has come a long ways, and I have no problem, severing this lot and make it 2 50-foot lots just as it was before. And, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So unless there's other comments, I would like to make the recommendation that all 2, 4, 5 applications be approved as long as all the conditions are met.
Well, I guess I don't have to call for a motion. All right, motion by Bill to approve with conditions as set out by the town. Any seconders? Marnie, all in favor? You are approved. See you the next time around. Okay, next application is A053-2023, known as 2163 Webster Boulevard. Do we have Keith McKinnon with us tonight?
I am here, Mr. Chair, but my colleague Courtney Fish is going to do the quick presentation for you this evening.
Okay, because we got Zoom going on, we got voice going on. Okay, welcome to the Committee of Adjustments. Mr. Secretary, can you read us the application and any comments associated?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the applicant is proposing to construct multiple detached homes with proposed heights 1 meter over the permitted maximum heights. The applicant is seeking relief from Section 4.2B of the zoning bylaw. Planning recommends approval with conditions. Building has comments. The Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority have comments. Engineering and in-services have no comments.
Thank you. Now, last month we dealt with the property across the street from this. Am I correct? We did, it was the same thing. Is this all the same development? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, are you, Keith, are you in receipt of all the comments the town has made on this property?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we are. Thank you.
Oh, there you are.
And yes, to your point, this was an oversight. These 4 lots were supposed to have been included with the application that was before the committee last month, but unfortunately it was missed, hence why we are back before you this evening.
Okay, thank you. All right, moderator, we don't have anybody tonight. You don't have to, you just. Okay. Yep. Do you have a presentation then for us tonight? You do.
We do have a very quick one if you would like to hear it. It's
Sure.
very similar to the one that we had in last month.
Right. Good evening, Chair, committee members, and staff. My name is Courtney Fish. I'm a planner with KLM Planning Partners and the agent acting on behalf of the owner of 2163 Webster Boulevard regarding minor variance application A053. Next slide, please. The lands are located east of Webster Boulevard and north of Benson Street in Alcona. As Keith mentioned, we were here last month for the other lots, part of the same draft approved plan of subdivision south of Benson Street. Next slide, please. And so similar to what we discussed last month, while we were working through clearing draft plan conditions, it was identified that some of the dwellings would exceed the maximum building height currently permitted in the zoning bylaw. As such, we've submitted the subject minor variance application to request an increase in building height to 10 meters for the 4 single detached dwellings, where the zoning bylaw currently permits 9 meters. And in response to the question raised by member Raimondi at last month's meeting, and just to provide further clarity on that question, the height of the housing models has not increased. The grading issues arise from how building height is measured and the on-site grading requirements that we need to meet to comply with the town's engineering standards. The building height is measured from the established grade to the midpoint of the roof, and established grade is calculated by taking the average measured at all exterior walls of the building. So once the housing models were test sited, it was identified that some of the dwellings would exceed the maximum building height. We have sought a 1 meter increase to allow for flexibility, but we don't anticipate that any of the dwellings will require the full meter. So the requested variance will facilitate the development of housing in a draft approved plan of subdivision and will not result in any negative impacts surrounding properties. We're of the opinion that the requested variance is minor in nature, maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw, is desirable for the appropriate development of the subject lands, and is appropriate for approval by the committee. That concludes my presentation. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you, Courtney. I understand when we looked at the property to the south of that last month, there's a ravine there, so I understood why it was required to have the height. This property, I was there a couple of times, it's actually hilly there. So why is the requirement different than across the street? Like, why do you need that elevation? Because it seems that unless you're going to bulldoze the land down, it looks like it's rather high there.
So maybe I'll tackle that one, Mr. Chair. So great question. And that mound you see there is actually a topsoil pile that's been there for a number of years. It's hard to tell, obviously, with all the vegetation that's taken over, but that is an old topsoil pile. But just based on the overall grade of the site, that, as Courtney mentioned, it's required by the town for the grading purposes. It is going to require some walkout basements, just based on the way that topography is in that area, save and except for the mound that you see. So there will be a requirement to exceed the 9 meters, but as Courtney says, we're not anticipating it's going to be a full meter, but it's just to provide some additional flexibility. But there are some grading challenges there, unfortunately. And I should say the other issue too, of course, is ensuring that we're outside the groundwater level that is prominent in that area as well. So that was the other concern that was raised by engineering staff at the town.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, any other questions? Anybody? Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, and also that the houses are the same on both sides of the street, so there's no difference in height in the houses.
Right.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, so could I have a motion for or against this application? Marnie? Turn your mic on.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Turn your mic on.
I'll make a motion through the chair for application A053-2023, 2163 Webster Boulevard to be approved as applied for, subject to conditions.
So we have a motion by Marnie to approve with all associated conditions. Do I have a seconder? John, all in favor? You in favor, John? Yep. Yep, good. You're approved. Thank you very much for coming before us tonight.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay.
Next application is A054-2023, known as 1562. Do you have Stephen Lau with us tonight? Welcome to the podium. Mr. Secretary, can you read the application? Any comments?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the applicant has constructed a fence with a height of 2.24 meters. The applicant is seeking relief from section 3.2 of the fence bylaw, which is bylaw number 052-05, which allows for a maximum fence height of 0.9 meters for fences located within 6.1 meters of the front lot line. Planning recommends approval with conditions. Building has comments. Engineering and in-services have no comments.
Thank you. And moderator, I don't believe we have anybody. We have one comment tonight on this, do we not?
Yeah.
Yes, there was one comment. Mr. Secretary, did you read that? Sorry.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, there was one comment shared earlier. I can read it right now.
Sure, it wasn't shared in the public forum.
Sure. Through you, Mr. Chair, the comment reads as follows. This is a lovely fence. As a nearby resident, we enjoy seeing it as we drive by. It is nicely maintained and landscaped. We hope the minor variance is granted. I'm sorry town business had to be occupied with this unnecessary matter. And that's the gist of the comment.
Thank you. And are you, sorry, Steve, are you in receipt of the comments from the town?
I'm sorry?
Are you in receipt of the comments?
I heard it now for the first time.
Okay, they should have been emailed to you.
Maybe,
The staff comments were emailed last week.
oh, okay. I may have overlooked that.
Okay. And I don't believe, other than the one letter that we received, there's no other people speaking tonight for or against. Any questions of the committee members? I see none. Very nice screen. I don't call it a fence, it's a screen.
It's essentially so that we don't feel like we're in a fishbowl when we're in our front yard.
It's tight on that street.
Yeah.
And that fence looks good, so.
Yeah. Committee, can I have a motion for or against this application? Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a recommendation that we pass this, what is it?
Fence.
Oh, okay. 8053,
Go
as
ahead.
long as, whatever conditions are met.
Sorry, the application number is 054.
Oh, A054, I'm sorry. Yeah.
1562. So your motion is to approve with conditions?
Approve it, approve the application, absolutely.
Do I have a seconder? Bernie, all in favor? You're approved. Have a good night.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I got 3 laptops going here, so.
Well, you're trained to be the chair the next time.
Oh, I don't know.
Next application is 055-056-057, known as 920 Berry Avenue. Do we have Phil Lamadeleine here? Or
Yeah, that's me. I'm here.
did I say your name correctly?
Yeah, La Madeleine is fine.
Okay, sorry. I hate wrecking names. Mr. Secretary, can you read the application and any comments?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the applicant is proposing to construct a 2-story detached garage containing an accessory dwelling unit with a proposed height, gross floor area, and footprint exceeding what is permitted in the zoning bylaw. The applicant is seeking relief from sections 3.5B, 3.5G, and 3.5J of the zoning bylaw. Planning and the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority recommend deferral. Building has comments and conditions. Engineering have comments and conditions. In-services have no comments.
And Phil, are you in receipt of the comments from the town?
Yes.
Anything to add?
Well, if obviously there's comments from Lake Simcoe. The comments from Lake Simcoe, which are recommending deferral, are regarding the entire area over there being governed and considered within a floodplain, but there's been a development within that area in quite a bit. What we're proposing, obviously, is basically a single or extended long garage for the client to replace the existing garage that was there. There's an outline of the existing garage just below the new one, and a shed that we've removed. The idea for this was to be able to have accessory space on top, and because the lot is small, to stack those spaces as well. We designed that garage with what we consider to be the minimal ceiling height in the garage and minimal ceiling height on the second floor, and a very shallow pitched roof, so we could take advantage. We're also trying to build it very energy efficient with ICF. Because the dwelling's on the second level, anything that's would be within the flood area is strictly garage, which means that there shouldn't be any concern with flooding for that space. It's only a garage slab. And we're maintaining current grades and current elevations of what the existing garage was at. So I'm not quite sure about the deferral request for this in particular. When it comes to the minor variance issues, like I said, the bylaw recommends a certain square footage or square meters coverage. There's also a clause for a maximum of 10%. We are conforming with that maximum of 10%, but not conforming to the overall size of the structure. So that's one issue. And building heights, we're above the recommended height, but we wanted to limit the footprint. The existing house is a single dwelling and with no basement and single story. So when it comes to square footage, we are exceeding the maximum of 50% over the existing. But considering the house is great shape, fully renovated, obviously we were trying to do something that didn't create too much of a lot coverage. Not much more we can add beyond that. We tried to keep everything as small as we could while making sense and have that space usable.
And through you, Mr. Chair, just to note that the plans we're looking at are updated plans received today.
Right. I believe all of us have had a chance to see them. Bill, did you?
I saw them.
Okay.
It was a very minor change just to address the concerns.
And moderator, we don't have anybody addressing this issue tonight. Thank you. Okay, committee members, do you have any questions? So the town, they call that deck on the second floor a terrace.
Yes.
They're recommending that they're not in agreement with that for privacy reasons. And I think that's going to be with any future ADUs as well, is that, you know, you don't have some new resident sitting back there now looking at everybody's backyard, sitting out on their deck.
Okay.
That's in the comments.
Yes, and I see that. I mean, were we to have constructed a new two-story home instead, terraces in the backyard shouldn't have caused too much of a concern, in my opinion. If we have this deck on that particular location, it does give the potential to oversee the lake, which is why we've put it there. If it was a major concern or a cause for refusal, then I'm sure the client would consider having that as an amended space that we could remove.
Okay, and the second thing is on the height. We've had similar, although there's no precedent on what we rule on different streets, but we've had a similar dwelling unit presented to us before, and it went on for a long time, back and forth, over a year. So we would like to minimize that effort for you. We're looking at suggesting perhaps 6 meters. Can you design that with 6 meter height?
Well, at this point, it's all about the midpoint. Like I said, we have just enough space on the lower level, as you can see over the garage door. We just have enough room for a garage door track. And we have an 8-foot ceiling on the second floor, which is basically the minimum that you would try to consider. Any type of sloped roof would reduce the internal usability quite a bit. And in the end, the overall peak would potentially be allowed to be taller. So when it comes to a massing situation, we do end up having a taller wall, but a lower peak than if we were to try to do more of an A-frame. So the idea here was to try to make it as minimal of a roof line as possible and have maximum usable space within the smaller envelope.
Thank you. Any other questions? John?
I just did a quick calculation of what, if we were to take half a meter off, or if the town wanted to reduce this to 6 meters, that's 1.64 feet. And that's got to be taken out of an 8-foot ceiling on a second floor.
Can't do it.
And an 8-foot ceiling on a main floor. I don't see that it's possible. And I do kind of agree with what Phil is saying with regards to the peak. If he were to increase the slopes and bring the eave heights down, I think that the overall impression might be a larger and taller structure than what they have proposed here. And if you look at the 3D models, you can hardly see the flat roof. It looks, or hardly see the peak. It looks more like a flat roof. So I would say that I think that they've done, my personal opinion is they've done the best that they can, if we're gonna.
Thank you. Bill, you have comments? You're muted, Bill. You are muted, Bill.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
I liked you the other way.
Okay. You like it that way. I agree with John's comments. I mean, I think they've done an outstanding job trying to bring this down to a minimum. 6 meters for 2-story, it doesn't work. It just does not work. And we went through this whole scenario not long ago. And, you can turn this down all you want. I think that the town has to look at the bylaws and change them a little bit. And we're only looking at a half a meter. And one question I have, what's this going to be used for?
My client's is a police officer, and at this point, it's not to be rented. It's not to be an accessory dwelling. It's more a place where he can get away from the kids out of his small house and sleep from his shift work.
Yeah, I know the house, and it's a pretty small house that he's got there. And
Yes.
I as far as conservation, I mean, Berry Street's been there for 150 years or longer, and I don't think it's ever flooded. I mean, I understand that it's in a flood zone, but again, I agree with Phil's comments here that it's a garage slab. If it's going to flood, it's the garage is going to flood, not where they're living. They're not going to drown up there. So I don't see any reason at all to defer this. In my opinion, we should pass this.
The town is objecting, Bill, to the terrace or the deck.
Again, like I go on Whiskers Avenue, I see all kinds of terraces on a second story, the same thing, and there's no objections there. I mean, I can point out 3 or 4 houses all along there that have, the same scenario, and they're even up higher. So I don't have a problem with that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I wonder if I could just add one other thing.
Sure, Kirsten, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So I just wanted to add that the additional reason that staff have recommended deferral is because we didn't have the gross floor area of the main dwelling, and the bylaw only permits an accessory dwelling unit to maintain a gross floor area of up to 50% of the gross floor area of the existing dwelling. So because we didn't have the gross floor area of the dwelling, we recommended deferral as well so that we could confirm what the variance actually is for that section of the bylaw. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, and
if I can interject, on the cover page, we did indicate the area of the existing dwelling. The gross floor area and the area of the footprint are the same. There's no basement, there's no second story. It's at the very top of the page, above the site plan. And if you zoom in there, the area of the existing dwelling was noted.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just think staff calculated a different calculation for gross floor area from what was put on the notice as well. So we just wanted to get that confirmed, and that's why we recommended deferral.
Sure, I guess where we're coming from, Kirsten, we're trying to avoid having a long delay on this application, as in deferrals. And typically when we get plans late, as of yesterday, we wouldn't see them, but we have them here. So the square footage is there. Is that in line with what you were looking at before, or you were guessing before what the square footage would be?
Yeah, I'd have to review it further again because we just got it this afternoon, so I haven't had enough time to recalculate, unfortunately.
Okay.
Now, we can assure the number is correct. It was originally taken off of the footprint provided by the surveyor, And then the reason it was revised today was because the client went around and just kind of clarified some numbers, which made for just a smaller difference in square footage, which was actually a little bit larger than what was showing on the site plan, but by 40 square feet. It wasn't a ton. We're still not, we're not meeting that requirement of no more than 50%. But when it comes to overall lot coverage, we're nowhere near the max, and we're still below the maximum allowed accessory structure percentage, which was 10%. We're at 9.97.
Any other questions?
So again, like we could approve this and they can check this out. If there's a problem, they can work that out. I mean, why defer something like this? We just approved, I don't know how many houses for height, an extra meter.
Mm-hmm. John?
Just a comment on the gross floor area. So I think they're proposing about 23% additional from the permitted. Do we have an opinion from staff whether or not they would have supported that if they would have known the numbers or been confident with the proper numbers?
I think Kirsten's online.
Sure. Or Bren.
Start with Kirsten. I can add in if anything.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
So the question is, like, it looks to me like they're proposing about a 23% increase from the permitted. And I just want to get a sense from staff whether or not that would have been supported if you guys would have known the proper numbers or been confident with the numbers?
Yeah, I don't think staff's main concern was the area,
Okay.
the gross floor area. I think yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
We just wanted to confirm what the variance was.
I understand. So I don't think there's any reason to defer it based on the gross floor area. We may or may not want to defer it on the height. I think we're thinking no. So now I think the only thing is the deck.
Sorry, Brennan?
Just a point of clarity, because if a decision is made tonight, I don't want them to have any hiccups at the building permit stage. And so there is a bylaw requirement in section 3.5H, which speaks to an ADU. And for lot area, which is less than 1,000 meters squared, it does not typically allow a balcony. So perhaps a revised motion that would permit that would be best, so that they, if approved tonight, that they wouldn't have any issues at the building permit stage, because then they would be back here anyways.
Thanks, Brandon. That's a great point.
Yeah, it is.
Any further questions? Marnie?
So if a motion was put forward tonight, where are we at with this upper balcony or deck?
I think that we are considering supporting it, but we have to include it in the motion that it is allowed as part of this minor variance, right, Brandon?
Through the chair, that's correct. I would recommend that the motion speak to it, as it is a separate bylaw requirement. And so to go forward with this design, they would need, and I would probably recommend that there be, if a decision is made today, that there be some conditions perhaps associated with that. One might be that the final plans and elevations are submitted to the satisfaction of planning staff. And given that there are comments from LSRCA, they're not here tonight before us, it might make sense to include another condition that basically allows them to work offline and satisfy their concerns. And I can perhaps suggest some wording.
Sure. Go ahead.
Maybe just that a separate condition that says something along the lines of that a topographic and or floodplain analysis is submitted to the satisfaction of the LSRCA.
Yeah.
If I may say, typically LSRCA has never had any concerns with garages being within floodplains. So I don't see that being too much of a concern. I believe that maybe the review wasn't based on a full understanding of what we were proposing for the lower level. Also, just to the revised drawing today, when was resubmitted, was to show that we are proposing a privacy wall at the one end of the deck, so there was no concern with visibility in other properties' backyards.
Can we just scroll up on that, on the elevation so we can see it? I don't think we can tell from the drawings. Okay, there it is.
You
On
can
the
see
3D,
I see
on the
it.
3D view, you'll see it clearly.
Okay.
Another question?
John, go ahead.
Regarding the floodplain, was it confirmed by LSRCA that the slab is below the floodplain? And if it is, do we know how much? Does anybody know that?
It doesn't actually refer to the elevation. All it does is it refers to the entire area being within their riverine floodplain hazard for
That would-
Carson.
John, I live in that area, so
Yeah,
we're
that-
all under floodplain
Yeah, it'd be
there.
the same case as the
Yeah.
house. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that opening up, with all respect to Brandon, opening up a condition to do a floodplain analysis could end up being a big expensive report that I'm not sure is necessary.
Through
What do you think, Bill?
through you, Mr. Chair.
No, I don't think so
Hang
either
on,
because, you know.
just, well, order, hang on.
Sorry.
Mr. Secretary?
Through you, Mr. Chair, a permit from the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority would be required regardless. So maybe we can condition it that they satisfy their permit requirement. That way they do the review.
Bill?
Exactly what I was going to say, yeah. No, I mean, they have to go through conservation regardless to get a permit. And, you know, whatever conservation wants, that's what it's going to be. I mean, the whole, it doesn't matter where you live, Rod, where I live, you know, we're on the other side of the street. It's all flood zone. So, you know, that, and they want their nickels worth, and that's fine. I mean, you know, he's got to go through that.
Right. Any other questions? See them, Marnie?
Through you, Mr. Chair, what was the reason that the town wanted the deck taken off?
I believe it's for privacy.
It didn't really say, I don't think, so I wasn't sure.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yeah, it was just privacy concerns with the increased height and the balcony to the neighboring yard.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? I see none. Does anybody want to attempt this, or you want me to do it? Okay, Brandon, as the manager of planning, if I'm going to look at you as I'm doing this, so I want to make sure we have the wording correct. All right. A motion to approve this application with the 6.5 meter, including the terrace or deck on the front of the building, subject to final plans and elevation being submitted to the town to their satisfaction, and they meet the Lake Simcoe conservation requirements, which will be permit approval. Is there anything I'm missing there, Brendan?
Through the chair, I believe that captures our conditions. That would be two separate conditions, one to the town satisfaction and one to LSRCA's.
Right, because they've got to go for a permit anyway, so.
Gotcha, just for our minutes.
It's gonna have to
just want
be-
to be clear. No, I think that
Okay.
works. Thanks.
Everybody good with that motion? Go, yeah? Do I have a seconder?
I second it.
Yep, Bill seconded. All in favor? Okay, it's approved. Phil, as we just stated,
Thank you very much.
have a good night.
You too.
Next application is A058-A059, known as 7982 Young Street. Do we have Saba El Mathono here with us? Did I say that right?
Yes, yes, I do, Mr. Chair.
Welcome to the Committee of Justice. Mr. Secretary, could you read the application? Any comments associated?
Through you, Mr. Through you, Mr. Chair, the applicant is proposing to construct an addition with a deficient landscape strip and a deficient number of parking spots. The applicant is seeking relief from sections 3.25B and 3.35P of the zoning bylaw. Planning recommends approval with conditions. Building, engineering, and in-services have no comments.
Thank you. Saba, are you in receipt of the comments from the town?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and we are in agreement.
Okay. Let me just see where we are here. And moderator, Ms. Moderator, we don't have anybody speaking, I believe. I see on my notes here, just someone was listening to hear where we're at? Okay, that's fine. Saba, do you have anything to add to your application?
No, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to comment. The deficiency in landscaping is just such a small area where we are proposing the barrier-free ramp. That's the only deficiency. The building itself does comply. We are 4.44 meter, and the landscape strip there works. It's just the minor area where we have the pinch for the barrier-free ramp. I believe our proposal does provide an improvement to the site by providing the barrier-free ramp, barrier-free parking, bicycle storage, and more needed use, which is the medical use for the neighborhood.
Thank you. It's not currently used as a medical building?
Correct. It's just like a commercial office building.
What kind of medical building is it going to be?
It's going to be gynecology.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, anybody have any questions of the agent for the applicant? Marnie?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can't find it just now, but when I was reading this today, it said that house is an existing real estate office. I'm not sure if that was just a mistake in there.
What?
But then in another spot, it says it's an existing medical building. But you say it's just used for offices right now?
Correct. It was used as an office building for a contractor.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure why the application's got that in there, but.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Could I have a motion for or against the application? Marnie? Mike?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Sorry. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion in regards to applications A058 2023 and A059 2023 regarding 7982 Young Street to be approved as applied for, subject to conditions.
So we have a motion by Marnie to approve with conditions associated. Do I have a seconder? John? All in favor? It's moved. Saba, thank you.
Thank you
You're
so
approved.
much. Have a nice evening.
You too. Bye now.
Bye.
Okay. One last person. Okay. You might as well start walking out. Are you here for the Innisfil Beach? No? Oh, you're the owner of the medical building. Okay, thank you. Okay, application B019, A061, A062, A063, A064, A065, A066, A067, A068, A069, and A070, 2023, known as 3575 Innisfil Beach Road and 7267 Fifth Side Road. Do we have Jessica Kwan with us? Jessica, welcome to the Committee Adjustments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of committee and staff. My name is Jessica Kwan, and I'm a planner with Proclini Real Estate Group, and we represent the owners, Innisfil Beach Park GP of the subject lands. Today before you, as you said, Mr. Chair.
Hang on, before you go ahead, let me finish my procedure.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Mr. Secretary, could you read any comments to the application, and you can annotate it because it's a big one.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the applicant is proposing to sever a portion of the lot for the purpose of creating a new industrial lot. The severed lot will have a proposed lot area of 22.51 hectares. The retained lands will have a proposed lot area of 6.81 hectares. The applicant is also proposing to construct an industrial building with an excessive height, a deficient landscaped open space area, prohibited outside storage, prohibited loading spaces, a deficient minimum rear yard setback, a deficient number of accessible and total parking spaces, and a deficient lot frontage. The applicant is seeking relief from sections 6.2, 3.34F, 3.35.3A, 3.35.1.1, 3.28.6, and 3.28.8 of the zoning bylaw. Planning recommends approval with conditions. Engineering have comments and conditions. The Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority have comments and conditions. Building and Services have no comments.
Could you read that again? Thank you. Jessica, go ahead.
I apologize once again. But good evening once again, Mr. Chair, members of committee and staff. So I'm just going to continue. So before you today are the consent application and several minor variances being filed, B019 and A061 to A070, all inclusive. Next slide, please. By way of background, subject lands are located in the area known as Innisfil Heights and are situated immediately south of Innisfil Beach Road, also known as County Road 21, west of Highway 400 and east of Fifth Side Road. Next slide, please. The lands are a designated employment area in the town's official plan and zoned industrial business park in the town zoning bylaw. The official plan schedule on the left identifies the subject lands as primary and secondary gateways into Innisfil Heights. The schedule also shows a proposed local road bisecting the subject lands, connecting from Fifth Side Road through to the 7th line to the south of the subject lands. Next slide, please. So the purpose of the consent application is to allow the creation of 2 industrial lots on the subject lands. The proposed consent will facilitate a real estate transaction for Lot A for an industrial development that is proposed through a concurrent site plan application that has recently been submitted to the town. No developments are proposed on Lot B at this time, but the proposed consent will result in Lot B having a lot frontage of 32.38 meters. That means that Lot B would not meet the minimum lot frontage requirement of 50 meters as required by the zoning bylaw. And this is due to the fact that the alignment of the required local road as shown on the official plan schedule on the previous slide, the road is proposed to have a 90-degree bend or curve, and it essentially creates a situation where Lot B has to have like a smaller reduced lot frontage. And to this end, this is why we submit minor variance application file number A068 to seek relief from the bylaw to allow for the reduction of the minimum lot frontage from 50 meters to 32.38 meters. Next slide, please. So the remainder of the variances are to facilitate the site plan shown on the screen on the severed lot, and they are related to seeking relief to the zoning bylaw requesting for a maximum height increase, reduced landscape open space requirements, permitting outdoor storage only in the form of trailer parking, permitting loading spaces along Fifth Side Road, Highway 400, and Innisfil Beach Road, a reduction in rear yard setback, reduction in the number of parking spaces, and accessible parking spaces. As I just mentioned, the site plan application has been submitted to the town for review for the development of an industrial and logistics facility with a gross floor area of just under 117,000 square meters. Next slide, please. So this facility at a proposed height of approximately 50 feet or so, this facility at over 1.2 million square feet is poised to become one of the largest buildings within the county and would effectively and successfully anchor this location as a gateway at the intersection of Highway 400 and Innisfil Beach Road into the Innisfil Heights area. The building will be designed with high quality and distinctive treatments and materiality, which will help to create a visually aesthetic building at this important key gateway location. The facility will be masked and sited to strategically be situated as close as possible to frame the Innisfil Beach Road and Fifth Side Road intersection. Due to the depth and magnitude of the proposed industrial facility and the fact that this subject lands will be bounded by public right-of-ways in their entirety, it would be impossible to situate vehicular and trailer parking, loading, and or any servicing areas away from any public right-of-ways. To mitigate the view of these servicing elements, we have proposed an enhanced landscaping strategy along the perimeters of the site to buffer and screen any industrial activities from public view. A landscape plan has been submitted to town through the site plan application, which proposes a mix of deciduous and coniferous trees of varying maturity of up to 30 meters in height. So through the site plan application we submitted, staff will have the opportunity to comment and review the submitted landscape plan to ensure that these views of the servicing elements are mitigated as much as possible. So the user and purchaser of this proposed industrial facility requires no more than 275 parking spaces for their employees and their visitors. The facility is proposed to have a maximum of 200 employees, where the employees will have a maximum of 2 staggered shifts. We are providing 375 parking spaces through the site plan, and that would more than sufficiently accommodate the user's needs. However, should this user ever choose to lease or sell this facility to another user that requires more than the provided 375 parking spaces, we are able to accommodate up to 974 parking spaces on the site, which is well over in excess of the required 816 parking spaces for this facility. The additional parking spaces would be situated on the northeast corner of the site where the trailer parking spaces are currently proposed. The zoning bylaw also requires that 3% of the total number of required parking spaces to be designated for parking, accessible parking. At 3% of the proposed 375 parking spaces, 12 accessible parking spaces would be required and are proposed, and that would more than sufficiently accommodate the proposed facility given the user's needs. Finally, this development will also provide a local road as well as a stormwater management pond that's located immediately south of the subject lands, which will be constructed and dedicated to town, which will also serve future adjacent developments once they come forward. We are of the opinion that the requested consent is appropriate and represents good planning, and the requested variances meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act. In conclusion, we have reviewed staff's reports and for the proposed consent and minor variance applications, and we have no objections to the recommended conditions of approval. Thank you for your time, committee, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Do you want to say that again? No, that was a lot. It's a lot.
Sorry.
No. It's a lot of applications. Just make sure I always do this with the moderator. We don't have anybody speaking for or against. Thank you. I missed that. I guess, when I see here you're reducing the required parking space from 816 to 375, I'm just curious because this is a mammoth structure. And all we know, it's a commercial building, so we don't know. And you got trailers. Why the big reduction in the parking spots?
So the end user who is purchasing this, they're a warehouse and logistic company. Basically, they only need up to 275 parking spaces. They only have a maximum of 200 employees. Because of the nature of this warehouse, they need the space for trailers, which is proposed on the northeast corner of the site. So if they need that space for trailers and they don't need that many spaces for vehicular parking, then that's why we reduce the number of parking spaces that sufficiently will serve the employees, but at the same time maximize the number of trailers to support the function of this warehouse.
So the diagram, excuse me, that we have on the screen before us right now, those parking spots that are showing in the northeast corner, that's all trailer parking?
That's correct.
So is there going to be anything going in there to shield that? Because it's not a visual stimulating look, for an area that has a casino and a racetrack up the street. Is there going to be any type of screening put in there?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Through Mr. Chair, we submitted a landscape plan which shows a variety of trees and shrubs up to 30 meters in height. Okay. Staff will have the opportunity to review that landscape plan to ensure that these trailer parking and any parking spaces would be appropriately buffered from the public view.
Sure, thank you. And I have one more question, and then let the rest of the committee talk to you. The retained lot, or reading the reports, that it won't meet minimum requirements once we allow the severance. So what would that parcel of property be used for then?
So it will be used for industrial facility. At this time, we're still trying to market it. We will market it since after if the consent is approved, but it will be for industrial facility with another building.
Okay. Yeah, we thought that was going to be a smart center. That's who used to own that property at one point.
Yes, and it got sold to us.
Okay. Committee members, any other questions of the agent? Marnie, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I understand this building will rely on a septic system, and unless I missed it, where will that be?
So if you can scroll down a little bit, that's right. There's a box at the very, there's a box at the south. That's right. That's where the
okay.
wastewater treatment plant would be, because there is no municipal sanitary sewers at this time. I understand from In-Services right now they're targeting 2028 to install municipal sanitary servicing, at which time we would have the option of decommissioning this the septic system, and we can connect to municipal services.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. I can have a motion for or against the applications that are before us. I'll save you the energy. Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve with all conditions and applications B019, A061, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, and 70, 2023, known as 3575 Innisfil Beach Road, 7267 Fifth Road. Can I have a seconder? Marnie, second it. All in favor? You're approved, Jessica.
Thank you. Have a great night, all.
You too. Thank you. Mr. Secretary, we don't have any other business that you want to throw on the, nope. Well, can I have a motion to adjourn at 7:32 hours? Nobody wants to make a motion? Marnie,
Yeah.
second it. Bill? Yep. And all in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Recording stopped.